All right. We are live. So, yeah, thanks all for joining ANC 1B's first Public Safety Committee meeting of the year. It's great to see you guys. Hopeful we'll have a few more of the committee members join us soon. Um, but in the meantime, I was told by Miguel that committee members must be reappointed every year. They serve for 1 year terms. So I am hereby reappointing our three committee members that are currently present, Nakapon, Leah, and Julius. I will reappoint others if they're able to join tonight. Um, so I can give a quick rundown on our agenda tonight. So first, we're going to hear very quickly from a guest speaker. His name is John Green, and he is part of the U Street Neighborhood Association. So I actually haven't spoken with him before, but I have spoken with folks at the U Street Neighborhood Association, and I think we should do more to try to partner with them on public safety issues. So I'm not sure if maybe he's the one with the phone number that's in our attendees right now. But yeah, hopefully he is on and can still speak with us. Then we're going to go into our usual MPD updates. I'm not seeing anyone from MPD on right now, but hopefully they'll join. I'll send them an email right now. And then after that, I wanted to discuss youth violence. So, oh, and there's Committee Member Gall. Committee Member Gall, I am reappointing you as well for another 1 year term.
Well, thank you very much.
Welcome, welcome. Um, so yeah, I believe committee member Trevette was able to attend the CJCC event um, about reducing juvenile involvement in violent crimes. And so I was hoping that we could hear from her about what that event was like, what they spoke about. Were there any takeaways that should be shared with the committee in terms of our work and what we can advocate for? And then I was hoping to just discuss that report from the CJCC, the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, which I will send the link to the report in the chat right now in case anybody is interested. Um, yeah, can discuss that. And then, yeah, quick status update on Beta Academy's DPR partnership application. And then, we can discuss other potential resolution topics for this year and then end with community announcements. So, are there any questions about any of that? Cool. Great. All right. Well, then we will go right into it. I'm going to allow 715-209-6463. If that's you, John Green, can you raise your hand? If not, you can keep your hand down. Hmm. Not seeing a hand. So let me send one quick follow-up email right now, and then we'll just resume. Sorry, just 1 second. Let me just send him an email. Great. Um, okay, well, I don't see anyone on from MPD either. Um, Karen, I was wondering, are there any major crime updates that you'd like to share out with the committee? Since I know you've got your finger on the pulse and because you work closely with the police every day.
Well, with exception to us having a very robust December slash beginning of January, with
Hmm.
changes in the command structure of
Hmm.
MPD. We had the outgoing chief of police, Pamela Smith. She
Yes.
her her tenure ended on the 19th of December, which she did her walkout ceremony, but on paper it said December the 31st. And so incoming interim police chief Jeffrey Carroll began his term on the 1st of January. um, there was a letter that was sent from Chief Carroll to the council, answering
Mm,
some of the questions that were raised by the city council, that they wanted to have their information, some of they wanted to have the questions answered by Chief Smith by January the 9th, but you saw that because of that transition, he of course will, I guess, get an opportunity to fully address the council, because so that was on the plate for MPD in regards to legislative questions, because of all of the information that the community had come out in regards to the federal partnership that DC has, that was basically established during August by President Trump, and further sort of married to the MPD with an order that was written by Chief Smith that the council wants to have rescinded, as well as the mayor. She incorporated a safe and beautiful initiative for the city to try to keep a lot of the federal influences from the city government's processes out of it, so that the city can manage their public safety through their own infrastructure. Um, all of that is what's in play in regards to what's going on legislatively. As far as the crime numbers has been shown, there has been a massive decrease in the crime, as was happening before the surge, but the numbers have gone down. This year, we haven't we're still in we haven't had any murders, um, which is a good thing, and we pray that we stay in that avenue of not having anyone kill anyone. We did have a tragic death with one of the officers who passed away from being hit under the bridge when he
mm,
was attending to a car. He was over in the first district, and so that was he was helping someone on the side of the road, and he was hit. So that was listed as, initially erroneously listed on the crime stats as a homicide. However, because it was under major crash, they had to, change that out. So if you saw that, if you happen to see that change up, that's the reason why it was a change up. And then there was also an auto incident that occurred in the second district that had gotten mixed into the crime stats of the deaths and the murder deaths. But that all that information was cleared up, and as you know, the based on the findings, with a deeper dive investigation, there is the FBI has their JSAT report, and DC has their crime cards. There has not been, so far with the investigation, they have not really seen a difference in regards to the stat reporting. That has been the big controversy. So that's the stats for now. So the crime card stats that you can easily pull up if you go to the MPD website, you can see the crime stats based on the specific area that you query on. And so it's really easy to look at that information. And then also, you could always subscribe to the crime stats, because they have the online portal for you to be able to
mm.
tap into that as well. But that's it. I'm not an MPD officer, so I'm not going
This
to
is fair.
try to take on that role. I just work on behalf of our wonderful third district community to ensure that We have an independent um, process that is done for our community where we are keeping everyone, all of our civic minded community leaders together to provide them with their time and energy to engage in a very healthy partnership with the third district police department and the metropolitan police department. Hopefully we can continue that relationship. We know that it's a trying time right now, but we are 45 years as an organization in doing this. We were celebrating our 45th year, and we're honoring our community champions. And you guys have been excellent. I definitely, Francois, you actually have your name on the list as one of the honorees as a community champion because you've been working well. So I do want to say that our 3D CAC meeting that we have coming up on Thursday, January the 29th, we are recognizing those who have really put themselves out there to do an excellent effort to push public safety. And I nominated you, and it's not because I like you so much. It's mainly because I know that you had been really consistent about pursuing public safety in a positive way and also making sure that the real things and we have a wonderful committee here who really and I think have been doing a really good job, and I appreciate your chairmanship, but I also think that you bring that energy into the community. So I do want to thank you, and I do want to let you know that you are being honored as one of the community champions from 3D CSC. So I'm letting you know that ahead of the game.
Well,
That's it
thank you
for
for
my
the
report.
well, that was a thorough report. Thank you for the heads up and for the report. And yeah, I'm honored. I'm looking forward to being there on the 29th.
Okay,
Um,
and everyone else is welcome to come in and cheer Francois on and take pictures of him and see him and as he walks hand in hand, and have some cake too. That's it.
sounds like fun.
Oh yes.
I'm curious, Karen, do you know if the new chief will be doing a listening tour or attending any of the future CAC meetings?
Well,
I'm
you
curious
you
if they
are
have any like
you're
priorities that they're
you're in
focused
luck.
on.
He will be there for
Okay,
our. Come, I mean,
there we
if
go.
there's anything you all know, I do believe in positive engagement. I do believe in hearing all sides out, and I have not. I believe that I delivered that for you all. As an you, if you all say that you want to talk to someone, I try to bring them to the table, and I think that everybody needs to have their voice heard at the table, at any table that we have, and it needs to be a fair conversation where we're listening to each other. And it's people that I may not agree with in regards to values, but I never say okay, they can't come. I want the community to talk to people, because that's the opportunity that we have, and so we can do it in a positive way. And so and I'm not speaking on that in regards to our current chief. I'm just saying that in regards to our past guests we've had that everybody may not have seen eye to eye with. But anyone, if you guys have anybody who you want to see as a guest for our CAC meetings where you want to come and talk to them in person and have a nice deep conversation, feel free to let me know. But yes, the chief is expected, and he may be one of the people presenting your award to you. So just let you know.
That's
Okay.
great. Well, I would definitely love to meet him, and yeah, I'll definitely spread the word about the meeting. I'm sure there's some other folks in ANC 1B who would love to come out, not just to support to support me, but also to try to hear from the new chief.
Oh,
So
and
thanks for
and
inviting.
and on a secondary part, for businesses like Nakapan and everybody who has a business, and you have security, you need to know about your business security. We're having a 3D business day on Friday, January the 30th at from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, in which you get to talk about. I mean, you get to get a training. It'll be for security personnel and businesses who really want to focus on what's going on with their security. We have 10,000 businesses in the third district, and we are giving them an opportunity to talk about their security with MPD, with Metro, all the top officials, and of course the real-time crime center. So you guys are always welcome. If you're a business owner, to please join us from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on Friday, January the 30th. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds great. If you could send that information to myself and then the 1B office, if you haven't already, we can definitely try to promote it in our newsletter. I'm not sure if there's another one going out this month, but we can definitely try to spread the word.
Yeah, most definitely. We put it on the site, and I'm getting over the flu, so I hadn't had a chance to
Hmm.
sort of push that out there, but
Everyone's
I'll
sick
make
right
sure that,
now. It's
yeah,
tough.
it's really tough. But thank you guys. That was it. I hope, is there any questions in regards to what I did share? I mean, is there anything that you want to know? And Leah, I see you. I'm always seeing you in our spaces, and I love it too. I really wanted to champion you, but I thought you might curse me out. If- she knows why. I'm sorry, Leah. But I wanted to bring, I want you all to, I know it's all love, it's all love. I just really want to make sure you guys know that we always have every open door for everybody. But is there any questions that anyone happens to have for me?
I just have a really small one, and I think I get the emails, so I think this is just me double checking. You said
Hmm.
the 3D community meeting, the next one is on the 29th, right?
Yes, ma'am. The CAC meeting from is in person, and it's going to be, and our all of our meetings are in person except when October, November, and December. But it's in person at 1620 V Street Northwest in our Snyder Community Room, and it's going to start at 7 p.m. Please arrive at 6:50, so that you can have a nice seat, and we always network. So please feel free to come in. Is that and if you're not on the email list, send me an email, 3dcacdc@gmail.com, and I'll make sure that my secretary puts you on the list.
Great.
Okay.
Well, thanks so much for the
You,
updates.
you're quite welcome. I hope it was adequate for you for this meeting.
Oh,
It's not as robust as I want it to be. There are some things that I know that we had carried over from last year that we want to address. But again, I'm not an MPD officer, so I don't want to take on their responsibilities. They're paid way more than I am, and I really want them to be able to deliver their job.
I hear you on that. I think they're paid way more than myself as well, both in my actual job and as ANC. Um, well, really quick, I think we have Maria online as well. It sounds like there might have
Yep.
been an
Hi.
issue with the Zoom, but thanks so much for joining. I am reappointing you as a committee member for the next year. Are you there?
Yep. Hi.
Hello. Thanks for joining. Um, okay, well, next on our agenda is discussion about youth. So Leah, why don't you kick us off? Yeah, how was the event? What did you learn?
Yeah, it was really good. I'll put both links. I think I emailed them both to you, Francois. But
Okay.
there were two orgs that talked about their sort of approach to youth violence. And they both specifically work with like teenagers and young men. I think they were both like ages 15 to 16 to like 24. And one of the orgs also works with young women, but only in their Boston location. So one of the orgs is has a hilarious acronym, which is YAP, which
Hmm.
is funny to me because I love to talk. But it just stands for Youth Advocacy Programs. They are actually currently in DC, I believe. I don't know how robust their programming is here, but they've been
Hmm.
around for quite a bit, and they're sort of like all over the country, it sounds like. And then the other group that talked was Raka or Roka, I forgot how you pronounced it. And they are, I think, in Massachusetts and in Baltimore, I think are their two big cities, maybe also in upstate New York. I can't remember off the top of my head. And they both sort of provide similar levels of service, I would say. I feel like YAP provides a ton wraparound services with families, where they work with not just youth that are at risk of violence, but also with like parents and younger siblings, and they work with teachers, and they do a lot to make sure that young men have access to not just education, but also like to mental health programming, and to job programming and job training programming. And it sounds like they do incredible work. But again, they're currently in DC, but I at least have not heard of them, so I'm not sure how robust their programming is here. Um,
Mm,
and then I think I might have said this actually to you in my initial email, Francois. I really liked
hmm
what Roca said. I actually had students when I taught in Boston who went through some of their programs when I taught middle school. So like when they got to high
hmm
school, they went through their programs. They do a lot of like CBT therapy with their boys, and it seems like it works like incredibly well. And they have a really interesting partnership. I think this might just be in Baltimore. They have an interesting partnership with the Baltimore Police Department where they don't share any information about their boys or their young men, but the
hmm
Baltimore PD will sometimes give them a heads up if something had happened in a neighborhood that either they're going to or a neighborhood that their boys are in. So they're aware if like someone need extra services or if maybe something has happened and maybe a boy won't be able to make it to their event or something that night. And I believe they also are referred. I feel like clients makes it sound really impersonal, but I think like teenagers and young men are referred to them also, I think, through Baltimore PD, which I thought was interesting. Especially the flow of information seemed like it was done very intentionally, where it was just information just went from the police department to keep the boys as safe as possible to the programming. But the
That
program
was in Baltimore, you said?
that was in Baltimore, yeah.
Okay.
But the programming directors didn't seem like release any information to the police department, so it kind of keeps them as safe as possible, I think. And kind of keeps the focus on like their healing and their mental health journey and making sure that they're connected with the right adults. Um, and both programs, I think boys are assigned like specific trained like therapists and mentors that they check
Mhm.
in with. I feel like Roca was like 3 times a week, and it was like two had to be in person, and one could be like a text or a phone call or a FaceTime. And I forget if Yap had like a specific amount. It might have been 2 times a week that they had to check in with them. So they're sort of like in programming, there was like a very consistent interventions with adults. Um, and I think everything that they're doing sounds like it would be really, really beneficial for a lot of our
Mhm.
teenage boys and young men here. Um, the one thing both programs did talk about was like funding is really difficult.
Mhm.
Especially I feel like for cities like DC where we don't necessarily operate in the same way as cities that are part of an actual state. Um, but yeah, I threw both the links in the chat and I'll like go through my notes. They sent us home with like an actual one pager that I can't
Oh,
remember where
nice.
I put it. Yeah, I just have no idea where it is in my apartment.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can find that and send that out over email. But I thought that, yeah, they were both really interesting programming. I think it'd be interesting to explore something similar, if not throughout all of DC. Like, I wonder if it could be something that could be piloted, maybe within our ANC or like even just within Ward 1 or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I wonder, yeah. I It would be interesting to try to talk with someone from there. I'd imagine their programs are expensive and maybe beyond the finances of ANC 1B, but it would be cool if they could do some pilot programs. Sounds like so they do work in DC already to some extent.
YAP does, which is the
Okay.
young youth advocate
Yeah.
program, or at least they said they did, and I trust them. I just have no knowledge of their work.
Yeah.
And then Rogue, I
Yeah.
think the closest that they're at to us is Baltimore.
Got it. And it is interesting. I mean, I don't know if I know I sent out the report on youth violence to folks that the CJCC put out. Um, but one of their main recommendations was mental health services for youth because a big driver of violence is being in a violent family, being in an unstable family environment where there's neglect or abuse, and youth have been traumatized, and mental health services are very important to help the youth and to prevent, this cycle of violence from continuing. And then also, I think that is interesting about this idea of a one, not completely one way, but mostly one way information flow from the police to these organizations. We know that there's a lot of distrust of the police, so it might be an easier lift, or people might trust these programs more if they know that the police are telling the programs information, but the programs aren't giving the police a bunch of information about who they're working with.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think one of the things that YAP did that, I would imagine works really well. And I know on their websites they like have their reports of all of their success and everything. But I think because they also do a lot with family, like they help families pay for groceries if they need it, help, mom or dad or whoever find a job if they need it, or help them with like mortgages. I think that also helps because a lot of times, obviously, we know that violence and trauma come from when you are not able to have your material needs met, which again, I think is beyond the scope of our budget because that costs a lot of money, especially in a city as expensive as DC is. But yeah, just I was wondering a lot about like what some of this could look like. Again, if not in RANC, but like at a ward level, maybe would be easier to do
Hmm.
because then it'd be multiple people that we could pull money from potentially.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any thoughts, reactions?
Well,
See, Karen has her hand up.
well, Mayor Scott is one of my very good buddies, and Baltimore is doing a phenomenal job as well as Chicago, and trying to recover from the systemic issues that Leah mentioned, because those are those underlying factors. And I know you guys heard me beat that drum all the time at these meetings, that you have to address those factors and do it in a sustainable way, do it in a holistic way where you are giving people what they really truly need: the love, the support, the nourishment of food, stable housing, stable employment. Those things are the things that keep people from being subject matter to a lot of the nefarious systems that we have going on that preys upon the young people who, or older people who are just exploited because of the underbelly of the society that likes it, that ends up in the Epstein file type stuff. So we need to really address that, those factors, and keep people away from those vulnerable populations. So I think that if DC doesn't support that type of environment, um, then we wouldn't have some of the issues that we're having. And one of the ways to stop supporting about those environments is by having those tools, as you mentioned, that YAP was offering. Baroka, I have heard of them. I haven't heard of YAP in the area, which I mean, but we have a lot of resources in Washington D.C. Baroka is phenomenal. The criminal justice, for the report, Francois, this
Hmm.
organization is a wonderful organization. The executive director, Miss Christy Love, I just spoke to her the other day. I mean, the previous director, when I tell you he's a powerhouse, I mean,
Hmm.
you all have to know this is a wonderful organization that has done some phenomenal work. The report, of course, speaks for itself. I mean, I think that I think having Christy Love come in and speak with this group would be wonderful. You know, I, I, of course, if I have some good persuasions from my wonderful fellow committee members like Leah and yourself and everybody and Julius and Nakapan, I would like for you guys to encourage us to get Christy Love on board, to come in and speak with us, because I think she would love to have a conversation. But I would like to see a broader conversation, that everything that's written in the report and how we can find ways in order to make the things that DC needs happen. And it's not just as a ward, but some consistent, sustainable ways that we can budget for that. I know that they said that they're looking for ways to take away the traffic safety cameras. And that's $1 billion budget that's given to DC. But I'm just like, where we need to have I need to see where that the budget is in place in DC for the programs that we're talking about, where we have, just like Baltimore and now New York, they're really putting things in place that really sits and address these type of issues directly and consistently, and they show that you can do it immediately. I really
So, really quick, what is Christy Love's position again?
She's the executive director
Okay, she's the
of this.
executive. Okay.
Oh goodness. I'm sorry. I should have been real clear about that. I apologize.
No, I was
Um,
just clarifying, just confirming. Okay, she's the
yeah,
exec. Okay.
yeah. I should have said that from the beginning. You asked us to read this report. I figured you knew who she was, and I'm sorry. I apologize for that.
No, no, I'm learning more about the CJCC and everything as well.
Right.
So, yeah,
Now,
would
but
be great to hear.
they have a really good lineage of directors for this organization who have been really profound and speak in spaces that need to be spoken in about these critical issues. And I really think that it's important that we honor their work because they're doing wonderful work. But I really want to see more than reports. I want to see these things in action, their recommendations in
Mm.
action. And
Hmm.
I would like to see budgets laid out so that we don't have to, at the ANC level, try to figure out how can we make people whole, and they have, if you specifically, some of the, if the organizations that are or the agencies that's supposed to be doing the services, providing the services that we need, of course we wouldn't be exploring some of these situations that we're talking about now. So there is oversight hearings that's coming up in February in front of the council, and I know that some of you in this committee love to testify. And I know my favorite person knows who I'm talking about. Um, I think that we should as a committee come up with some testimony that could be effective in front of the city council about some of the areas that we have been consistently talking about throughout these meetings. Um, and I know that we can effectively address it with the passion that's needed. And especially when these oversight committees, hearings happen, and these people who talk about that they've done all this work and we see the results that they haven't. I would love for us to go and testify and say, hey, guess what? Look at what Baltimore is doing. Look what Roca is doing. Look at what Chicago is doing. DC really should be the shining example of doing that which is good and not making our children and our adults vulnerable to the foster care system in which they're preyed upon with sex trafficking and human trafficking, and being taken advantage of in the street, and being used as political fodder when it comes to public safety talks and stuff like that. So I really want to see us be a little bit more proactive legislatively if we can as a committee. But that's
Yeah.
that's my 2 cents on it. Thank you.
No, I think testifying would be a great idea, and we could, work on something as a committee or submit it to the commission um, to review. But or committee members, obviously, like anyone is free to testify, but it might be helpful to draft something as a committee.
I think if we have a good game plan as a committee and
Hmm.
we all show up in numbers to offer the testimony, and then we also, in our individual capacities, we will go there because they will listen to us more on our individual capacities as opposed to um the ANC structure. I noticed that about the council. This is my personal observation, and they know how powerful we are when we say these things. So I just really
Yeah.
think that it's important that we also get behind these organizations that are doing the work properly, and the track record is important because the I'm gonna tell you, the kids will tell you who's doing the work, and
Hmm.
and 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 they'll also, and this is, I said this often, if you're doing the work, guess what, we won't see the numbers that we're seeing. So that's my, again,
I
I'm gonna end it
sure,
on
I
that.
sure
Thank
hope.
you.
Okay, well, you said the hearing is in February.
Well, we have oversight hearings that's coming up in February. They haven't put the dates out yet, but I know
I
that
see.
from back
Okay,
in
well,
information. um
yeah.
it's important that you know the agencies that um are going to have to speak before council.
Yes.
And those
Yeah.
agencies need to be addressed in regards to all of the stuff that we're talking about, where we see that there's a shortage of services for the young people in our community. I think those are the agencies that we need to say, guess what? We think you need to put a stronger effort towards taking care of our young people, because they are going to grow into adults, but we want them to be well
Mhm.
supported adults,
Yeah.
and our older people as well. So, you know,
Yeah. Well, I
that's
definitely think it's worth it to try to
that's
advocate because at the
important.
end of the day, they control the programming, the money, the staff. Um, one thing that I thought was interesting, we heard
Yeah.
from an MPD officer a few months ago about the juvenile curfew. And so he was saying how, if there's a youth who's out past curfew, they will drive them home if they live within DC. But it sounds like there's no follow-up with the family afterwards once they drop.
Oh, it is. It is
Okay.
actually. There's a youth services division in MPD. So MPD has a youth services division that specifically focuses on trying to do some year-round services for the youth. However, um, a lot of we have a society that really has a majority of our youth adverse to the police because of their interactions. As Leah was mentioning, the ROCA services that builds that rapport with the police departments. So, and this is the point of the CAC, to try to get people to build a rapport with a police department, have those hard conversations when you need to have them, talk to them, tell them what you need, so that everyone can work together in the ecosystem of Washington, D.C. as a community. And so, but when you have you don't want information to be weaponized against young people who need services. And so it's really important that you have groups that are working with young people, but still young people who are in harm's way, they need to have police services so that they won't really some things go far in. We That would help to alleviate a lot of the murder rates and a lot of these beefs that you see people go
Mhm.
through by having the intelligence. So that's where the youth services division helps in regards to MPD, and also it helps with family services and transitional issues, and then also to keep the young people who want to participate involved in some type of programming. But
Yeah. But it
you know,
sounded like what the officer said was that they don't follow up with the families after they drop someone off.
because it could be one-offs too. You have to look at it from a one-off situation. Is if we remember, I one of the things I asked about the log report. Those logs are they're not arrested. Okay, so the main goal of law enforcement is to enforce laws.
Hmm.
However, the arrest is what triggers that the follow through that you're looking for. But
Yeah.
when some because see, most people don't like to be processed inside of a system because their constitutional rights start to become
No,
involved
I,
in
I,
that
I hear you. I hear
process,
you. Yeah.
and
I guess I'm
especially
just
young people.
no, totally. I guess I'm just if there's someone who's getting driven home multiple times or even just once, it seems like it would be useful to have someone, maybe not MPD, but some other government agency reach out with them and touch
And
base
that's what the
to
youth
see that
DC
everything,
Youth
because
Services.
that's yeah,
I'm
if
sorry,
somebody's out, late at night and that's happening recurrently, then, it seems like that is one touch point they're already having with the system. It would be useful for, to try to prevent something further from happening.
but that's what the Youth Services Division, the DC Youth DYRS is supposed to be doing.
Yes,
But they
totally.
are going through a lot of problems with because they also house
Mhm.
young people, and they also have a
Yes.
lot of oversight of any justice impact young individuals, and their facilities are going through a tremendous issue, um, and it's just I think that the care that needs to be provided to these particular type of agencies has not been fully or substantially budgeted, and also the consistent oversight is needed when in these
Hmm.
particular agencies where people are overwhelmed because it's under budgeted, or they're not interested in getting involved because they're looking at the whether or not they would be in danger, or because of the consistent
Hmm.
trials and tribulations that's part of those services, those service offerings. But
Hmm.
again, the social work field is very difficult. The and the mental health field is a very difficult field, but to make sure that the facility management for young people who are going through these type of situations, to make sure that
Hmm.
it's managed properly, it really
Yeah.
requires people who are really committed to doing it, but also the funding is really really
Hmm.
necessary in that same process.
That definitely heard. Definitely makes sense. I'm curious,
Does
did
that answer
anybody?
your question about the drive-alongs? I mean, the pickups and the drop-offs. Does that really help you?
Well, I think it helps me understand that there are agencies who are responsible for this. I'm not quite clear that they are doing some of these things. So I think it would be useful to ask in these meetings or advocate for them to follow up more. Um, with youth who are they are seeing are having these interactions with the police that while the youth are not being, kids aren't being arrested, it does seem like that is one sign that DYRS or another agency or a nonprofit or somebody should try to reach out to that family to make sure that everything's okay.
Well, the personal identifiable information, would, because of the privacy issues, whenever you deal with people, you have to be conscious of those transactions. That's number one. So the police are sworn to have that information, and then if you start giving it to other agencies, and it becomes you're part of a system, as opposed to and it looks, and sometimes they look at it in an adverse way. This is why I say you have to be conscious of how information is handled and how it's utilized, and if it's given in a social services system, are they actually going to follow up? It's it's a process, Francois, that is, if I use the example, Francois got picked up on the street, and then Francois got picked up again, and then he
Hmm.
got picked up again. Now, 2 years from now, I have the records of me picking up Francois, right? 2 years from now, Francois decides that he's turned over a new leaf. He wants to do better and not always hang on the street and grow up hanging on the street. He's going to do something else. But because the retaining of those records, and they're not in the proper hands, or they've gotten in some type of system, the persons who had that record, they will come back and say, oh, there's the liabilities, there's the lawsuits, there's all this stuff. This is why people are very very conscientious of the litigious society that we live in.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I personally have seen people said, okay, you had this record on your in your database and on your site or on your files of me doing A B C D E F G, and I'm no longer in that,
Mhm.
and I wanted that expunged from my records, and I still see this. It's all kinds of stuff that you have to take in consideration, and that's the reason
Yeah.
why I'm sure, but I do think, and I agreed with you that there needs to be some follow up, but I'm just letting you know
Mhm.
that's the end that you don't see.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. We do live in a litigious society, and we don't want to add things to people's records unnecessarily.
Correct.
I see that Latoya Davenport, from the U.S. Attorney's Office, speaking of the law, has raised her hand, so I'm going to allow her to speak.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy
Good
New Year.
evening. This is
Happy New Year.
Latoya Davenport from the U.S. Attorney's Office. I don't have any updates, but I do want to let you know that the U.S. Attorney's Office, we do a lot of youth programming.
Hmm.
We are
Mhm.
in over 10 DCPS schools and charter schools throughout the city where we go in and teach them about the criminal justice system. Um, we go over various topics like bullying, truancy, decision making, and sometimes we bring along partners. And MPD is one of the partners because a lot of kids have this anti-snitch slash I don't trust the police. So we try to bridge that gap. Um, One thing I can say, it was hard
Mhm.
for me to get in schools in 3D. I'm in a school actually in 7D because every school I reached out to, they either didn't respond or they responded and didn't get back with me. But we do have a lot of programs. We also have another program where we bring them downtown to meet the U.S. attorney and the judges and sitting in on court proceedings just to
Mhm.
see it from a different lens. Like maybe one day you may inspire to be a judge or a prosecutor. Um, so we do have a lot of programs that we offer, even to
Mhm.
the seniors, the adults. Um, but for some reason, it's hard for me to get into like the senior building, um, in the schools in the third district. So if anybody have any type of connect with their clergy or any senior centers, we do financial crimes. Um, Human trafficking. I'm doing a human trafficking program next month for the Hate Bias Task Force. I will make sure I send that information out. And every summer in July, around the second week in July, we have a big youth summit where over 500 youth participate, and we talk about gun violence, mental
Mhm.
health, and drug abuse, and it's normally held at Catholic University, but I am working with Howard University to see if we can move the show over to Howard this year. So,
That's great.
if you know anybody, any schools or any partners that want to partner and we participate want to participate with the youth summit, I will be glad to connect them with the host for this year.
Mhm.
And if you know any senior centers or youth groups that want programming, we would love to do that.
Definitely shoot me and Miguel Trinidadi Duramo, our chairperson, an email. And
Okay.
we can try to connect you with some more of the schools because definitely um, yeah, that's unfortunate that you didn't hear back from some of them. So I know that we have some connections with the schools in the area.
Okay, yeah, I reached out to a couple. Um, so I'm at Simon Elementary and then Minor Elementary, which is in Fort Five. So
Hmm.
I would love to bring some of those programs, to our district because they are very effective. The kids enjoy it. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. Great. Well, yeah, please definitely send us an email just with more information and we'll see what we can do.
thank you.
Thank you for joining. Um, I am conscious of time since I know we have about 10 more minutes. I did want to talk in terms of concrete next steps on youth issues. So first, it sounds like there are going to be these oversight hearings, like Karen mentioned, and so it would be great if we could work on some testimony for those. So, I'll try to keep an eye out on which hearings are happening, and once we know which agencies are testifying, we can work together on drafting some testimony and incorporating all the various ideas of from the discussions we've had about what we want public safety, community engagement, policing, youth services to look like. Um, the second thing is I think it would be worth trying to pick up again the effort to provide youth more spaces to socialize and hang out and have programming. And one of the big parts of that is activating DPR, which I think we were all a little bit disappointed that DPR wasn't doing more to use spaces like Banneker for youth. And, DC public schools wasn't really doesn't seem to be as involved either. So I do think, I'm curious if anybody is interested in working on a resolution related to activating those spaces for youth in the evenings.
I think that that would there are several different layers. The legislative layer that we've already discussed in regards to oversight,
Mhm.
and then also making sure that the recreation centers that we have in the area is being utilized properly. And with
Yes.
the programming that Nakapon was talking about, and the programming that we were talking about in regards to making sure that there's safe spaces, I think that that's really important that we have it in those after hour spaces, doing
Mhm.
using those facilities um to a degree that it is time period that keeps the young people safe in the evenings, because that's generally the time period that we tend to notice that there is the activity. And considering that we have some of the behavior systems have called back a little bit. I think that we need to start pushing positive energies in those places. I saw something really, really positive that went along with a suggestion that I had made to Wamada, and bringing the activity to the locations where we see the children are, and they utilize their buses in the most productive way during the holiday
Mm.
season by bringing their buses to the actual um, WMATA locations, the various subway sites, right? And so when people came
Mhm.
out of the subway, there they were with their bus already fully engaged with activities and everything on the bus, and that made it a portable location. However, with the numerous recreation centers that we have, and knowing that the activity is in the evening, I really think we need to have programming at all the locations so that it's not all lumped in on one
Mhm.
particular facility, and the
Yes.
weight of it
Yeah.
is not on one facility. And if you put the programming in where you have the staff that is there to maintain it, and
Mhm.
the actual programming for the children, some of the kids, they love being at these recreation centers in general. So just prolonging the time period, so by the time they can get to a safe place like a home, or if, say for instance, even if they're
Mhm.
in a homeless situation, if
Yeah.
they're there for a long period of time, you'll be amazed that sometimes they'll pull themselves away and they get some rest, and then they can move forward. I just want to at least have some time where there's an acceptance of the various people,
Mhm.
and having organizations like Roca, Leah, um, at that's the ideal spot. You know,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
having them at these, being intentional about the programming, having good organizations that the kids like at these
Mhm.
spots, with their programming at those, that makes sense. So I think when we talk about what we can ask for budgeting and how we can make suggestions, that's very proactive suggestions. We're
Mhm.
putting people in places that the children like, the young people like, the adults like, and who have a good track history of working with them. Now, career wise, getting them engaged with the local businesses. Again, like I mentioned, we have 10,000 businesses in the third district.
Really
Getting them.
quick, Karen, I think we're sorry to cut you off. I want to make sure we can squeeze in everything we have before 8 o'clock. But I did want to decide, is there somebody who can start working on a draft of the resolution to advocate for activating these rec centers like Karen was talking about?
I can
Friend
work a
talk, can you
part
hear
of
me
it.
now?
What was that, Leah? Was that
This is
you?
Maria. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yes.
yes, ma'am. I
Maria.
can hear you.
Okay, great. I'm happy to work on that with someone. I have no idea what I'd be doing, but I'm happy to help.
Well, it's a little bit, diving into the deep end, but it sounds like Karen is available to help as well. And maybe Leah, I don't know if you were interested in working on it as well, but I mean,
We're not going
basically,
to leave out Julius. He's engaged too.
yeah. Julius can jump in on it too. Don't want to have too many cooks in the kitchen, but the more ideas, the better, I think. I mean, I think it's, you know. I think the idea would be to just draft some language about, about the problems we're seeing with youth, why we think that activating rec centers in the evenings would help, what we're seeing with, these spaces not being available for youth, where they can't socialize and have safe places and connect with some of the, programs that are available. A lot of services are available, but people don't know about them. They aren't accessible. They don't trust them. They haven't talked to anybody who works for them before. So, I do think it would be just a draft, and then we can look at it and we can improve it or change it, and show it to more people. But I do think just getting some sort of pen to paper would be helpful.
Well, I always like to have deadlines. I don't mind doing some work, but I also I'm we're with our 45th anniversary this month, and my programming for
Mhm.
I just need to know exactly when. And we know the oversight hearing. We're doing this for the oversight hearing. Am I correct? Or are we doing
I
it?
think this
What's
would be
the
separate as a
goal?
resolution, but it would be definitely something we would discuss during an oversight hearing. So,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
we could draw from whatever resolution is written for testimony at an oversight hearing, potentially for DPR or some of the other agencies. Um,
Well,
but it sounds like
spell
Maria
it
is.
out, spell it out a little bit more, so that
Mhm.
I'll know that that we can all have a good, clear goal of what we're trying to achieve. Francois, I mean, I can
Mhm.
put in my you know, I have no problems drafting resolutions, but I can
Mhm.
put in some insights. But I really want to make sure that the aim that you're
Mhm.
speaking of is the aim that everyone else is on board with.
Sure. I mean, I do want to, yeah, I want to empower you guys to be able to draft the language yourselves. And I'm happy to look at it. I do want this to be,
Well,
the committee's
you
work
answer that
product.
clearly. You don't know yet, but you want us to come up with something. We'll
Well, that's
okay.
kind of, I think we've talked about it a lot, so there's a lot of good
Yeah,
ideas.
yeah. I'll try to and Nakapan. I mean, this might go in line with some of the stuff that you're talking about too. I see now. I personally see us, because we've all contributed dramatically towards a lot of the efforts that we're talking about for the young people. I can see it where we all can come up with some whereas clauses for a resolution, but also in conjunction with that, I think that we should also work on our testimony
Mhm.
for the oversight hearings that's coming up in February. So knowing that our next meeting is not until the middle of February, am I
Mhm.
correct? um
Yes.
I'm under the assumption that we should at least try to
Yeah.
have something done by then. Am I correct?
Yes, yes. I do think we should have something written by then, even if it's just a draft. But it sounds like Maria is interested in helping out and Leah. So I will send a follow-up email to the three of you guys, and we can try to work on something. I'm happy to help or leave it to you guys. I am going to try to have some office hours next week, potentially at Right Proper Brewing, where I'll just be hanging out, doing some ANC work. Folks are welcome to join. I feel like I haven't met everybody in person before. So would definitely love people to come there and we could work on this, the testimony or the resolution or anything else. Really quick, I see that John Green is in the audience now, so I'm going to allow him to speak to us before we go. I know it is 8 o'clock, but we are almost done. Hi, John.
Hi, everyone. Sorry to join a little late, but I caught a tail end of your great conversation on how to engage youth. Just for by way of introduction, my name is John Carlos Green. I am a longtime member of the U Street Neighborhood Association. I chair our public safety committee, and I was a former ANC commissioner at 1B, actually. Years ago, I held two terms. I actually initiated the Public Safety Committee back in 2015, and also was vice chair way back in the day. So um,
Wow.
very familiar with ANC 1B, and I'm really excited to see you guys engaged in the on the topic. More recently, actually, Karen, myself, Ashley Fields, Commissioner Fields,
Hmm.
were able to put together a forum for the community last year that was very successful.
Hmm.
So we have partnered together, and I'm excited that you guys invited us to this meeting. And I would love to come and join more of your future meetings and see how we can partner and do some sort of cooperation and work together on public safety issues that affect the community. And
Definitely.
That's
yeah,
right,
and just I
John.
guess yeah, one more thing to add. I for my day job, I work for the DC Public Charter Schools, and I run community engagement for the DC Public Charter School Board. So if you may or may not know, half of all students in DC are public charter school students. We have several public charter schools in Ward 1. And so I have a great connection and access to youth. So if there's ever any programs or any initiatives that we want to share out with the charter sector, I know how to get there.
Look, John, I enjoyed our partnership. I definitely enjoyed working with you, and so I'm really
Likewise.
happy. I'm really happy to see you join us for this meeting. And so thank you for the shout out.
Absolutely. Look forward to working together again.
Always.
Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, we would
Absolutely.
definitely love to partner and in the future. And it's great to get some more lore about ANC 1B and its history.
Yeah.
Um,
I've been here since 2013, Francois. You don't want to know all the stories.
I don't know if I do. I just
I,
want to hear the good ones.
I was in the James Turner days.
Okay. Okay.
Look, hey, John, come on, come on.
All right. Well, I will send a follow-up email to Maria, Leah, and Karen about working on this youth engagement and the Department of Parks and Recreation activating spaces for youth in the evening. I will send an email about that topic so that we can do some work on that. And I will send another email about holding some office hours next week. So if you can come through, even just to say hi briefly, would love to say hi. Can always get a beer or something. Yeah, other than that, I don't think there's any other community announcements that I had. 3D meeting, like Karen mentioned, is on the 29th. So hopefully I'll see some of you all there.
Yes, and
Thank
also
you.
on the 30th, if there's any businesses who want to attend the business meeting as well. So,
Yes, yes.
and we all have to come and cheer on Francois, everybody. So see
I
you
would love
guys
to see
then.
people.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye
Have a
bye.
good night.